Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Benji, the Hunted. This is a 1978? 1987. 1980. It feels like 1978. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I grew up watching Benji on TV. Maybe he had a TV show or specials. You know, there's all those heroic dogs that you rooted for over the years, depending on your generation. Rin Tin Tin or Lassie or Benji. Benji looks like a lap dog that anybody would have. This is an hour and a half, 1 hour and 30 minute long movie that is almost completely devoid of dialogue or humans. There's a few in the beginning. But this is it's all dog. It's not, they don't make his mouth move. He doesn't talk. There's no Kevin James doing the voice for Benji or something, or Kevin Hart, or Kevin anybody, Kevin Costner. No, there's no Kevins voicing any animals in this. Thankfully, I don't like those films in general. This is actually very small. Like I said, it's a small human cast, but it's a small production. Everything is it feels very in-house. In fact, because the director is Joe Camp, but he also apparently appears as the TV director in the very beginning of the film, which is, I think, just a voice talking to a reporter who is telling the people watching the movie or watching television. We've heard that Benji, yes, they all know the dog by name because it's the famous Benji, played by Benji, apparently. It shows a human in the picture of their IMDb account, and apparently the dog is cropped out if the dog is in there at all. I'm going to tap it real quick. Okay, whatever. Wow, this is the same dog in Oh Heavenly Dog. Oh, Chevy Chase, I like that one. From 1980. Maybe that's the one that I watched. And then there's For the Love of Benji and Benji the Hunted. So the dog has a pretty decent history in acting, and he's really good. I'm just gonna say real quick, the idea that this is shot as an action film to a certain degree. There's a little bit of humor, a little bit of horror. I'll get to that also in a minute. But it's really directed. The guy, Joe Camp, shoots this as if Benji is a human. There's a lot of reactions. When Benji's about to fall off a cliff, he's like skitters toward the edge, and then he's just sort of hanging on by his paws, and then he looks down, and then rocks are tumbling, and they just by his legs, and you just look at him. He's looking at the camera over his shoulder with a certain level of concern. I realize I probably mentally projected that onto him, but it's shot with the standard angles you would shoot with a human just clutching onto a cliff. It's all very close up kind of stuff. Obviously you have to, because really he's not hanging off a cliff. He's hanging off of a cliff that's maybe 2 feet tall. He's not going to fall. He's not going to hurt himself. But the way it's cut together is actually, it's not your normal, it doesn't feel like your normal animal movie. Animal dog, like Homeward Bound and stuff like that. Yeah, there's plenty of danger and adventure in that, but this could be called Benji Herding Cats. Because, let me get back to the very beginning of the film. This is a movie, it's kind of meta, it's about the famous dog Benji, who was with his owner Frank Inn on a boat that gets hit by a storm, and Benji gets knocked overboard. We don't see any of that. We just hear about it from Frank Inn, who plays himself. I think he's the owner of Benji. I don't know the history of Benji, but he plays himself, telling the newscaster that in the rain, basically that Benji fell overboard, and gosh, I hope he's all right. We're in the middle of the ocean. It's his first time on a boat, and he loved watching me fish, and it's the biggest fish he ever saw. And then all of a sudden it was sunny, and then suddenly there was a storm, and I lost Benji. Which, if you're the real owner, you're not an actor pretending to be the owner of Benji, that would be pretty upsetting. Either way, it'd be pretty upsetting. I don't think he's a particularly he an actor? I don't know. But they make it clear that they are going to send out the helicopters as soon as this clears up to look for a dog. We don't even put that much effort into lost humans half the time. But we know that a dog fell off a boat in the ocean, and he's surely alive. Let's spend, like, okay, yeah, maybe it's not 1978 what I thought it was, when the gas crisis was happening. I don't imagine that helicopter fuel was cheap back then. But in 1987, still, helicopter fuel, still not cheap to go looking for a dog. And by the way, he fell out of a boat in the ocean. So where does the helicopter look? The mountains. Yeah, because the entire movie takes place in the mountains of Oregon. Because logically, when a dog falls off a boat, you search for him on the mountains. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Okay, I just put this together just now because there is another human in this who kills a mountain lion. I didn't know you could hunt and shoot mountain lions, I guess. Maybe you can. I don't know their endangered state, but in Oregon, apparently you can be a guy in a cabin who hunts mountain lions, and this sets the entire story in motion beyond the whole him falling off a boat. Benji does make it to land, unsurprisingly, and he does and head into the woods, and he comes across a mountain lion who just gets shot in front of him and killed. He tries to help by licking the blood out of her wounds. His wounds, I don't know what the gender, I imagine the gender of the lion was female. It looked female. I don't know. I could be wrong. But the hunter comes along, like, oh, good, I got a cat, great. And Benji takes off. He sees Benji and is like, get out of here. Arr, I got a gun and I'm a man. And so Benji heads off into the woods, just going, I don't know. I mean, a human could have helped me, but he seems pretty scary, so I'm not gonna mess with him. And the next thing he hears is this quiet meowing, and of course, the lion had little cubs. And if you thought Benji is cute, well, he's about to be outdone by a factor of 5, I think. There's 4 or 5. The number changes from what I can tell in the editing. I don't know. It just changes a lot throughout the episode, throughout the film. I think there's 4. Then I think there's 5. And then, let's just say at one point we lose 1. Yeah, it's upsetting. It's not bloody or anything else. It's not like, oh my gosh, you just got torn asunder by one of the animals in the woods. But no, he doesn't die. So if you're worried about that, I think Benji does his best. Okay, it's the hawk. Got to watch for the hawk. There's a lot of different animals in the woods. Benji runs across all the animals, all of them, every single one. You want to see a raccoon? Got it. Fox? Yep. Deer? All those. In fact, you want to see a fox, raccoon, and a deer in one shot? Yes, you got that. You want an owl? An owl's watching the whole thing happen. There's so much going on. There's a bear. Do you want to have Benji distract a bear? Sure. You want to see a really scary black furred wolf who is like the main predator throughout the entire thing? Yeah. There's a wolf that, by the way, Benji has a battle to the death with. I'm not kidding. And you know who wins. But how he battles the wolf to the death is pretty astounding. And how they shoot the final shot of that battle, a little amusing. It's little. I literally just went, oh my god. Oh, when I saw that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have something to talk about now. Again, this is, like I said, it's Benji herding cats, because he takes on the role of protector for these, I don't know how many lion cubs. And they're very small. They seem like they're barely weeks old. Like, barely. They're barely walking. at some points. And adorable and fuzzy as anything you'd ever seen. And he's like, oh, okay, first of all, I'm hungry. Now I have a half dozen mouths to feed. What's going on here? And it turns, they're like, oh, I think we're going to feed off of you. And he's like, no, sorry. No, that's not working. So he goes hunting for berries. Literally, yes, he pulls up a branch of berries and brings it back to them and like, okay, I got 3 berries for you. For all of you. Go nuts. And eventually, yes, he gets in a situation where he realizes, I'm going to have to hunt. I'm going to have to hunt for food. He finds a rabbit. And there's some really surprisingly good rabbit follow action shots. Like, how do you hold a camera in 1987? Like, cameras were not a phone. It's not a little tiny handy cam kind of thing. They're still kind of big in 1987. So you're at least a camcorder, but you're not shooting on a camcorder, but you're shooting on film, and this guy has to be running behind a rabbit through the woods. It's like they're shooting Return of the Jedi with the speeder bike chase with this rabbit. Yeah, they use the same clip over and over again in certain points, but it's Benji chasing after a rabbit from his point of view. And at some point, he corners the rabbit, and then he realizes, I can't kill this rabbit. I'm Benji. I'm hungry, but this is an adorable rabbit. And I thought for sure they were going to like show the rabbit with rabbit babies. And he's going to be like, oh, I can't go rabbit babies, and I'm going to have to take on the rabbit babies. And like, it's going to be a whole thing. And then the rabbit babies would get eaten by the lion cubs, and then it'd be a whole mess. And you just know, because, yeah. So he ends up walking right up to the rabbit and licking its head, and the rabbit just sits there like, what's going on? Basically, it's yeah. So eventually he goes back and he finds a cabin where the guy is living, and it turns out to be the hunter that started this whole thing, and he steals a pheasant, an already dead pheasant, hanging by its ankles on a line, surprisingly easy for any animal to get. And he steals a pheasant and just throws it to the cubs, who have pretty much no idea what to do with physical solid meat. But eventually, you see a fluff of feathers laying on the ground going, oh, they must have ate it at some point. So they're well fed. Meanwhile, Benji plays with a single berry. Like, he doesn't even, the shot is just him, and then he doesn't even eat it. It's just pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down. That's it. So, yeah, the animal management, kudos to them. Just obviously everything from Benji to a bear is quite a feat, and then putting it all together in a way that's at least suspenseful and interesting, and not unlike the music. Sorry, Joe. It's the music. That's why I thought it was 1978. It felt like a very cloying 1978 gushy ballad of that era, not 1987. The music seemed at least a decade out of date, a decade and a half out of date. It starts out with what sounds like the saddest song ever written, and maybe performed by Barbra Streisand, but it wasn't. But it's the kind of thing you put in front of a movie in which Barbra Streisand or somebody close to her dies, and they get an Academy Award for it. That's what it sounds like. And it's just, no, just stop. It really sets the tone of sadness at the beginning. There's no fun to it. Fun happens here and there, but for the most part, Benji is set upon by all sides by different animals. And yeah, it's great to see him interact with different animals as either predator or friend or compatriot, or, there's an owl that just sort of, gives us, I'm an observer kind of vibe. But yeah, you gotta watch out for that hawk, the wolf, also another mama lion who's like, look, I need to pawn these. They're not yours. Do you want them? And she's like, get out of here. So at some point, you see they make it look like Benji's making a number of moral choices because the helicopter is out there. But Frank, big old Frank, is in a helicopter, face pressed against the window, looking out there in the mountains. Look, Benji! Oh, like he's going to hear him over the sound of the helicopter. It's and there's sometimes he gets out, but the point is that at like 2 or 3 different points when the helicopter is there, and yeah, it scares off the other animals, Benji's like, here's my chance to go back to Frank. I love Frank. Or I need to stay and protect these innocent, fragile, vulnerable little lion cubs. And they vary in size throughout the movie. It doesn't seem consistent, size and color. And yeah, you can kind of tell maybe things were not shot exactly in order, as films often are not shot in order. But yeah, it's kind of iffy. Kids who this is pointed towards are not going to care. They're fuzzy, cute little lions. That's awesome. But yeah, it's... So you see Benji making this moral human choice. Any other dog I know would be like, oh, hey, the helicopter has a friendly face in it, and he's the guy who gives me food. I think I'm going to go that direction. Screw anything else in these woods. Just, yeah, there's no moral responsibility to protect the innocent that comes to the mind of a dog, unless it was the innocent that is feeding that dog. It's a contractual relationship. It's give and take. I mean, dogs are very loyal in every sense, but not to lion cubs. If Benji was any bigger, considering that he can just pick them up by the scruff of their neck and carry them around, particularly toward the end, which seems like a 40-minute climb up a mountain where they keep falling down and he has to pick them back up and take them to the top. If he was any bigger, he would have eaten the lion cubs out of hunger because he's sick of berries. Just saying. That's reality. But this is a fantasy film about heroic, lovable Benji. And yeah. I don't know if this is the last Benji movie or what, but this is, this is freaking Benji. So he's kind of great. This is, like I said, it's very much for kids. It's very, if you don't know a word of English, you can't understand what I'm saying right now, but if you don't know a word of English, this is perfect. Because you're just like, you can understand what's going on. You can be a little kid, the littlest of kid, and still enjoy this adventure of a cute little doggy and a little lion cubs. And there's a little bit of danger. It's a little scary here and there. Not scary. Like the wolf is menacing. The bear might be a little menacing. The hawk almost gets away with dinner. Well, he does, and then Benji rescues him. I'm pretty sure, unless I blacked out at some point. But yeah, it's fun for the whole family. But yeah, don't expect more than what you think this is. So yeah, there's no, like I said, there's no stars. Chevy Chase does not show up and have interactions or voice the dog like an Oh Heavenly Dog. So yeah, there's no such thing as that. This is just Benji on an adventure after falling off a boat and fighting for his life in the mountains. Which makes total sense. What I was getting at earlier is the fact that maybe the guy in the cabin who does catch Benji at one point and he checks his tag, maybe he called somebody and said, oh, I found the dog. I found Benji. He's outside my cabin right now. Maybe he had a phone with him somewhere, like not in the cabin. He would have to go away from the cabin because 1987, you weren't necessarily having cell phones, especially if you're living off the grid in a cabin eating pheasants and lions. Or I don't know if he ate the lion, but still, yeah. So eventually, maybe he got the word out on the dog, and that's why they went to the mountains for the helicopter. I don't know. Let's just forget about it and pick tomorrow's episode. 268. By the way, I had to keep resetting this. My version of of this. This is an old iPad, and it can't get updated any further. So 268, I have to keep resetting the numbers, and there's a very good chance it's going to pick a number that's already been picked, whereas normally for 3 months at a time, it knows not to pick the same number. So, oh, so close. Oh, you know what? 268. This is a Christmas movie, and I've already picked out the Christmas movies we'll watch. I don't know if this is on my list. I'm going to check. I'm going to show you what this is, and then I'm going to go check. And if it turns out that it's already on the list, I'm going to come back. We're going to pick another one. All right, here it is. People presents Once Upon a Main Street. Yeah, this is one of those things where, like the Hallmark movies, all the same plot, the same thing, Christmas magic or whatever happens, and people, this probably was on Freeform at some point. Anyway, it's People presents Once Upon a Main Street. That's what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. See you then.